Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I'm your host, Denise. And before I get into my review, you know I have to tell you who my favorite actor is this week. My favorite actor this week is Queen Latifah. 3 movies that are some of my favorites. Set It Off, of course, she killed that role. She killed that role, extremely believable. Chicago, that movie earned her an Academy Award nomination. And she also played the role of Bessie Smith, and she earned, I believe, an Emmy Award nomination for that role. So there you have it, Queen Latifah, a rapper, hip hop artist who I think really made a great transition from the music industry into acting. Very few have done that and done it well. So kudos to Queen Latifah. All right, folks, I am going to jump into my review this week. And my review is the movie The Roses. This movie just came out and it stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. Those are the Roses. And Andy Samberg and Kate McKinnon, former SNL primetime players, they also are in this movie, and they kind of play their best couple friends. So in this movie, Theo and Ivy, the Roses, seem to have what you might call a picture perfect, if there is such a thing, marriage, careers, great kids, great friends, so forth and so on. But of course, as this movie progresses, we see that everything isn't quite rosy for the Roses. So the movie starts with the two of them actually in couples counseling or marriage counseling, whatever, way you want to refer to it. And they have been given a homework assignment by the counselor. And so now they're front and center doing what was asked of them. But apparently they did not take the assignment as seriously as the counselor would have liked, because at the end of this particular session, the counselor really has reservations about the longevity of this relationship. So then you have a flashback 10 years later. How did we even get to couples counseling? So you go back 10 years when the two first meet. Ivy is an up-and-coming chef, and Theo is an architect, and they meet, their eyes lock, and bam, fireworks happen. And next thing you know, they're married and they have 2 children. Well, Theo's career as an architect is thriving, and Ivy is sort of the stay-at-home mom who finds quite a bit of joy in creating, all of these different recipes and cakes and all the cookies and baking and extravagant meals. She just really throws herself into that and enjoys doing that for her family and friends, etc. Well, the architecture business is going well, and Theo has designed a fabulous museum. It really was kind of interesting. Very fabulous. However, something happens, and fast forward, Theo and his architecture career have literally crashed to the ground. So now roles are kind of reversed. So of course he's feeling himself and he's all, woe is me and doesn't know what to do with himself and just really down in the dumps. And so as the movie, moves on, and Ivy's desire to be this great, great chef, puts a little thought into Theo's head. And he's like, hey, listen, he finds this kind of abandoned building, if you will. And he tells her, hey, why don't you really, really take this, chef idea to a new level? Let's open this place and you get in there and you do your thing and let's see what happens. And they do that. And it takes a minute for that particular endeavor to get off of the ground. But I tell you, once it does, she's a little apprehensive. It's like it's really coming to fruition, and she's a little scared about what's going to happen to her career and this restaurant, but everything happens in her favor and in a good way. Well, now you have a role reversal because Ivy's career is thriving. She gets, the business, she can barely keep up because the business is just booming, whereas his career has not taken off again. And so he's the stay-at-home dad. So you see those roles change. She is doing her thing and she's famous and she's in, magazine covers. She's doing photo shoots. She's getting invited to all the fancy parties, et cetera, while he's at home taking care of the children and throwing himself into it. But then that's when resentment kind of rears its ugly head. So once that happens, you have a situation where the friends are now noticing that something isn't quite right with the two of you. The couple hasn't really said anything. They feel it, but they haven't said anything. But people around them have noticed that things are a little different. And once they come to that realization and things are said, words are exchanged that you really can't take back. And so there you have it. It comes to a head and then all hell breaks loose between the Roses. So you've got insults, you've got selfishness, you've got arrogance, you've got all of these things happening between this couple, yelling and screaming and, violent outbursts and throwing things and so forth and so on. So that's how the second half of the movie actually, moves forward. It's a lot of, that type of thing, screaming and yelling and tit for tat and pettiness. And you said this and I said this and you did this. Well, I'm going to do this. And they're fighting over property and all of those things. So, of course, in the movie for, Hollywood purposes, the things that they are doing are just out of control. And so, I don't know if couples actually do these things, to that degree, but, the movie showed a side of, a couple going through a subsequent divorce and just not being able to agree on who gets what and who gets whose career is more important and all of that. So you have that sort of thing going on. There's a lot of crude language. So I'm just going to let you know that right now. There's crude language. And so the movie was okay to me, in my opinion. I give it about a 7. And I give it a 7 because of Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. Those two really had on-screen chemistry, and so their pettiness, although it was quite petty, the two of them are such talented actors that you could sit through it and watch them. I kind of giggled a little bit. There was no like me falling over laughing, but for an hour, 45 minutes, it was okay. So I may have said this last week or maybe a week or two ago that Hollywood, this desire to remake movies, I don't understand it. Everything doesn't have to be a remake. And this is a remake of The War of the Roses that starred Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner decades ago. Who is sitting around saying, we need to remake that movie? I don't understand it, but it is what it is. So there you have it, The Roses. If you just want something that isn't serious and just kind of silly and crazy, check it out. All right, folks, I am going to jump into my Nailed It. And my Nailed It for this week is the cast of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. You talk about casting and casting the band of Queen, starting with Rami Malek, all right, as Freddie Mercury. You nailed it there. But I mean, the bandmates looked almost exactly like the bandmates of the Queen band with Freddie Mercury. I mean, there were times when I watched that movie where I was like, now, is this the real guitar player? Is that the real drummer? Or is this, am I looking at a flashback or something? I mean, they nailed it. They got that right. So the casting for the movie Bohemian Rhapsody is my Nailed It. All right, folks, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. And remember, I am available on BlueSky at HYSI. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.